So one of the interesting things is when they were building Knox College, which was going to become the college for the new United Church of Canada, that was the idea, they still put into it some very interesting inscriptions and references to the Scottish Reformation. And one of those we find in the Knox Common Room, which is on the residence side, now part of the University of Toronto. It used to be known as the Upper Common Room. And over the fireplace, we have this inscription, love God above all and your neighbor as yourself, or your neighbor as yourself. It's written in Scots. And what's fascinating about this inscription is it's exactly the same words and spelling as the inscription above John Knox's house on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. And so we think that's what they're referencing here, despite the fact that that's pretty obscure and you kind of have to know that. What's interesting is that that inscription was actually on that house before John Knox bought and lived there. I think it was either a goldsmith or silversmith who'd put it there, but it certainly referenced Knox and faith. And so that's one of the reasons they chose to have that put here over the fireplace of the Upper Common Room. We're now in the boardroom of the college, and again, over a fireplace, they put a very important symbol. And I want to point out this flag, which says, and it's hard to even figure out how you'd read it, but it's for religion, covenants, crown, and kingdoms. And so this is a flag that was used in the Covenanting rebellions against King Charles I. And so after the National Covenant was signed in 1638, half of the Scottish nation, or most of the Scots, found themselves fighting their own king. And this is a Covenanter flag from those opposing the king in the civil war that was in Scotland at about the same time. It actually began before, but then we get a civil war in England and Ireland as well. So it clearly pulls out that memory of the National Covenant and covenanting as an important part of the Scottish Presbyterian heritage. And just note, that's in the 17th century. It's not actually in the 16th century, all around the time of the Reformation. It's a century later. But they're clearly tying themselves and the heritage of the college to that moment. On the wall opposite to the fireplace, we have another symbol of the Reformation. And this is actually to the Reformation in France and to the Huguenots. And so what you'll see there is that is a Huguenot burning bush representing French Calvinists, and you can see the two fleurs-de-lis, and a different inscription than you normally see on the burning bush that's more associated with the Scottish Reformation. When people think about the heritage of the Knox College, what they often think about is this statue, a statue of Margaret Wilson. What's kind of interesting is it was never part of the original design. It's not like these things are carved right into the stone. This was donated later. It came to Knox College in 1938. A Canadian senator donated it to the college, and the college accepted it. And this is a statue that purports to represent a woman by the name of Margaret Wilson, who, the story goes, was drowned in the Solway Firth because she would not pledge allegiance to the king. And there's a lot more that can go on with that. But she's one of the Wigton martyrs. That's what they're known as. And she has been part of the college, as noted, since 1938. She used to be in the main vestibule of the college, the main foyer as we're coming in. And she was moved here because there was a controversy that erupted in 1992. And what's fascinating is people really didn't know who Margaret Wilson was. They couldn't even have placed her in the right century. They would have thought maybe she was killed in 1560, at the time of the Scottish Reformation. It's actually the very end of the 17th century that she was supposedly drowned. And she'd become, in some ways, more like the college mascot than the figure represented in marble. But in 1992, there was a question about whether this represented violence against women. And so there was a discussion inside the college and outside the college. She was moved into the boardroom for 4 years, but then in 1996, it was agreed that she would be placed here, and there would also be an interpretive plaque that would help to give some information about the statue, which we really hadn't had a good one prior to that. So this is the statue of Margaret Wilson. She was part of a very, very small and very radical Presbyterian group. The later Covenanters, those who didn't actually eventually come back into the Church of Scotland but remained independent. And so I've mentioned a few times that supposedly died or something along those lines, and it's because the facts of the story are kind of obscure, and we really don't have sources from the time itself, from the time when she actually was to have drowned. I think the most fascinating part of the statue is right here, which is the fact that if you can see, her one hand is free. And I think what the sculptor is trying to indicate there is that she is being martyred. She is free to get out of this if she'll only take the oath to the king. So I think that's one of the small details of the statue that people don't always recognize. The one good thing that came out of the controversy, not that controversy is bad, but the one really excellent thing that came out of it is somebody did the research and discovered who actually carved this statue. Because we didn't know that in 1938. We didn't even know that when everyone was fighting in 1992 to 1996. But we now have on the bottom of the statue, we have an indication that it was done by James Bell Birch, and that was the name of the actual sculptor. One of the things that you often realize at Knox College is that the library and the chapel are opposite each other. And that's kind of an idea of what a theology student should be doing. In chapel, worshiping, serving God, but also studying. So those two things. And when they built the building, they made two carvings that really represent that as well. So you'll see a lovely cross over the chapel. When you go exactly opposite that and look above the library, and you have to take just a moment and look at it, one of the things you see as an inscription. And what it says there is, "He that tholeth overcometh." He that tholeth overcometh, which is in Scots, and what it means is he who struggles overcomes. So it's appropriate that that's over a library. In 1638, in Greyfriars Churchyard in Edinburgh, the National Covenant was signed. And the National Covenant was the document whereby the Scottish people moved into rebellion against the king, King Charles I, or at least those Scottish people who were upset with him, which was a significant part of Scotland. They were upset by his religious policies. They were upset by other aspects of his government. But the Scots basically rebelled, and they used very religious language in the National Covenant to talk about that. And so one of the prides of Knox College is we actually have a copy of that document. It's in a faculty office. We're very proud of it. And it is, when we say copy, people think it's a facsimile. No, what it really is they made copies of the National Covenant, and they'd have people sign them, and then they take them to different regions of Scotland, and the people there would sign them, willingly or unwillingly. Not everyone signed it willingly. But our copy is from one of those regions of Scotland. It isn't from 1638, it's from a few years later. They can tell that because of the wording. But it really goes back to the 17th century. And it is the beginning of that covenanting movement where the Scots are in rebellion against King Charles I.